Something's been bothering me for a while. American cities have some pretty big flaws. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot to love about most cities in America. The problem is, while traveling abroad, I noticed that the trade-offs you have to make for the average city in America simply don't exist in the best cities around the world. Obviously, you can live a very comfortable, happy life in most cities in America, but the quality of life doesn't compare to the best cities in Europe or Asia. So, what do I mean by quality of life? My definition of quality of life is the ability to live in a comfortable, healthy way in spaces designed for people that fosters community and connection. But for a real definition, in the words of the UN Habitat Quality of Life Initiative, quality of life measures how well an urban area meets both the objective needs, e.g. housing, safety, infrastructure, and subjective experiences, e.g. happiness, community, connection, sense of place of its people. This also comes with a few different aspects. Basic services and mobility, reliable utilities, convenient, safe public transit, or active transportation networks, environment and nature, access to clean air, green spaces, parks, trails, and sustainable urban design, health and well-being, availability of quality healthcare, low pollution levels, and environments that actively reduce daily stress, economy and housing, affordable cost of living, employment opportunities, and safe, accessible housing options, social cohesion and culture, opportunities for civic engagement, recreation, safety, and a welcoming community. So even my favorite cities in the US clearly don't live up to the mark for some of these UN standards.
And we could spend an entire video on how US cities usually fail on each of these categories, but this is mostly just to get you to understand the framework which I'm examining these cities, so I digress.
Places like San Francisco and New York City check a lot of these boxes that other places don't, but then they come with big trade-offs like... So, why is it like this? The short answer, cars. America had basically demolished itself for the automobile after World War II. Neighborhoods got bulldozed for highways, streetcar networks disappeared, and in general, America spread outward. A lot of countries in Europe and East Asia tried to emulate this new American style of success as well, but they did not have the money or the resources to effectively modernize in the same way that the US did. This was a blessing in disguise. By the time people realized how big of a problem filling our streets with cars was, it was already too late in most American cities. It had been enshrined into zoning laws, car lobbies had gotten too powerful. Meanwhile, in the rest of the world, they could still course correct. That's why the most livable cities in the world have amazing public transportation networks, while even the best examples of cities in the US still have highways cutting through downtowns. All right. Enough of the depressing history lesson. Let's talk about some cool cities around the world. Alright, so I want to focus on the Netherlands and Japan as two countries with amazing cities. The reason is mostly because I've spent time in both these countries, so I can talk about them from personal experience. There are a lot of countries with great cities around the world, but these two, I know for sure, are among the best. But if you know other cities that you think are even better, please let me know. I'd love to check them out one day. What surprised me the most isn't that Amsterdam and Tokyo are great cities, which of course they are, and I was surprised by just how good they were, but more importantly, the amazing urbanism didn't end with the city centers. It spreads out throughout those entire countries. Even relatively small towns in these countries have good public transportation networks, making it so that you don't need a car and you can have an active lifestyle just about anywhere. Compare that to America, where only a few neighborhoods are walkable, and then as soon as you leave city centers, you get into endless sprawl. Alright, but let's take a closer look at Tokyo. At first glance, it seems to have some pretty obvious issues. Mainly, it's expensive and space is very limited. While those things are true, Tokyo is such a massive city that has an endless array of possibilities for ways of living. If you want to live right in the center of the action, yes, you'll have to have a small apartment, pay a lot in rent, and if that's the trade-off you're willing to make, then go for it. But you can also live outside of that core area and have a relatively affordable place with much more space and still have amazing access to rail networks, grocery stores, cafes, whatever you need right nearby. In the rest of Japan, cities and towns still have great train connectivity. Bus routes are everywhere and people bike often. But what really stood out to me is that people still hang out in the streets. You'll see groups of friends meet up at local landmarks or parks constantly, and I think that's awesome. That's something that we don't really see in the US. I'm sure you've heard of the concept of a third place somewhere on the internet before. Well, I'm here to say it's alive and well in Japan. You will also be shocked by just how much greenery is still accessible even in these big cities. Tokyo has a surprising amount of green space for just how packed it is. I mean, stuff like Yogogi Park and small floral installments dot the city. Obviously, there are some areas that feel like a concrete jungle, but it's not that hard to escape into nature. The Netherlands vibe-wise is completely different, but it still has a lot of these same core ideas. There's a lot of dense housing near train lines, everywhere is super walkable, and people regularly meet up outside in public. But obviously what sets it apart is its bike network. I mean, biking as your main mode of transport completely changes everything. I mean, think about personal health and fitness, air quality, and noise pollution alone. You would not believe how peaceful and quiet even the busiest parts of cities in the Netherlands are. Looking at Amsterdam specifically, it's hard to find any glaring issues with this place. I mean, it might be the most livable city in the world. You have amazing access to parks, gorgeous architecture, great places to walk, bike, and sit, and gorgeous canals cutting through the city. While maintaining a smaller town feel, it still has access to global city amenities, such as restaurants with every cuisine imaginable, big city level events, and a lot of economic opportunity. I think the only flaw I found was the often gray sky, but that's easy for me to get over personally.
But here's the thing. None of these examples are really about architecture, bikes, or even trains alone. If we go back to those UN quality of life standards, Japan and the Netherlands aren't succeeding because they excel in one category. They're succeeding because all of the categories reinforce each other. Mobility connects directly to health because people walk and bike every day without even thinking about it. Green space and good urban design reduce stress and improve mental well-being. Housing is built directly around daily needs, which means fewer long commutes and more time spent with family and friends. Public spaces create opportunities for community, which strengthens social cohesion and gives people a stronger sense of belonging. When you experience places like this, you realize quality of life isn't some abstract goal. It's the accumulation of hundreds of small decisions that local and national governments choose in order to make everyday life easier, healthier, and more enjoyable. And unfortunately, it too often feels like the forces in the US at every level are focused on the wrong things. It doesn't feel like anybody's in our corner. And that's exactly why these places feel so different. They're not designed around moving cars efficiently. They're designed around helping people live well.
Japan and the Netherlands continuously showed me that livable cities exist at every scale and for every kind of person. No, your town isn't too small for trains. It actually should be too small for cars. But these are just two countries that I've been to that do cities really well. And in many ways, opened my eyes to the possibilities of living outside the US. I'm at a stage in my life right now where I'm relatively transient, but I know that won't always be the case. When I look into the future, it's hard for me to see a world in which an American city is my permanent home. Maybe taking a look at these other cities has you feeling similarly, or maybe it just makes you want to make changes in your community. Nowhere's perfect, but clearly, the US could do a lot better.